What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Out of Left Field. I'm your host, Abby Alonso. First episode of 2026. Had to kick it off with Megan Faraimo. The list of accolades, the resume is insane, y'all. UCLA alum, New Balance athlete, professional player overseas, in the US, Team USA, pitcher. I mean, I could run out of breath trying to rattle off your resume. So I'm actually going to let you introduce yourself for somebody who might just tune into this and be like, who am I talking to or listening to right now?
Sure, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Faraimo. Most friends call me Meg. Family calls me Meg, so welcome to it. I did go to UCLA. I spent about 5 years there. Freshman year, was lucky enough to win a Natty Champ, and then had a few World Series appearances. Then I got to move on to my pro career, which I was so excited to play in what was first the AU and then AUSL. I also have played overseas for the past few years. I played in Japan, and then 2025 was my first time in Mexico playing. Been a part of the U.S. national women's team for, I think, a couple of years now, which is literally the biggest dream come true, and still doing a lot of work there. And now I'm just kind of like rolling through it season to season, just enjoying life. This has been my dream for so long, to be able to play softball professionally. I think what I'm most proud of, though, is just the friends that I've made, and the way my family has grown in that amount of time has been pretty cool. Uh, live in San Diego, born and raised in Oceanside, so shout out to all my Oceanside people. But yeah, now I'm just seriously living the dream, one dream to the next.
Dude, it's nonstop softball, softball, softball. And there's a lot to, she just so casually was like, yeah, I won a natty, been to a few World Series. Like, hold on a second. That's insane. Like, you're truly, your resume is incredible. So if you're tuned in, please soak in everything that this woman has to say. She's obviously figured it out, might still be figuring it out, because aren't we all? But I have a feeling you might pull something from this episode if you're listening. I kind of want to first jump straight into Team USA. You guys, I was joking with you before we started that I'm in her DMs while she's in Australia, y'all. Like, completely, like, just brain fart. Didn't even think about, hey, she's about to compete internationally. I'm over here like, hey, can you hop on Out of Left Field? When are you available? But they did just sweep 4-0 over Australia. Talk to me about that experience, what the weekend was like over there.
Gosh, that trip was so cool for so many reasons. Every team is pretty special with USA because it's never quite the same. But this one especially, I got to play with a lot of women that I haven't played with before. So that alone was really cool. But the mission of that trip, specifically to grow softball in Australia for the 2032 Olympics, to try to secure that spot, was just a mission that's been close in my heart, or has been on my heart for a really long time, about growing the game globally. So we ran a camp out there, and I want to say it was like 150 girls came, girls and boys that played Fastpitch, and they came and they wanted to learn so much.
Wow.
It was just a really good trip. So the softball was super cool. We got to showcase a lot of the talent that we had on the team. But yeah, I think the best part was seeing how it impacted the people in Australia, in hopes for 2032 being in the program.
I didn't even know that y'all ran a camp. That's awesome. I knew that the whole series was set up for basically to grow the game, marketing for the 2032 Olympics.
Yeah.
But to be able to go over there and give back to that community, to actually have your hands in growing the game over there. When you do those kind of camps or those events, like, where does that passion to grow the game come from for you?
For me, I think it comes from a lot of different places. I just have this one memory specifically about growing the game globally from Coach Tar, actually, when she was head coach for the national team. She had just said, like, put that idea in my head that it's our mission kind of to make sure that the game keeps growing, especially on USA and playing international ball, that the sport, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the sport in America looks way different than how softball looks in other countries. So in like I learned in Mexico, there's interest in it, but it's not like fleshed out the way that it is in the States. In Japan,
Mm.
professional softball has been around for a really long time. Like years and years and years, people have played in that league. But right now, the sport is actually on a decline. And then in Australia, the sport, they just took the softball out of schools. So
What?
there, it's also, so I think it's hard being in America and playing in America and seeing how big the sport really is and is growing. But if we think on an international level, it's either kind of like staying the same or going down, or still just way less of a popular sport than it is here. So I think for me in my head, I think about not just 2028 or even just 2032, but the sustainability and longevity of the game that I love so much. I want as many people as possible to even know that it's something they can do and have a future in, not just in the country I'm from, but everywhere, to sort of protect a lot of different people's dreams. But also, I figure, if it's an Olympic sport, a solid Olympic sport, that can only be good.
Yeah, I again had no clue that that's the case. You have such a, tunnel vision here in the States that, oh, softball's growing. And we saw it with the AUSL season. The numbers are up, ESPN signing deals. Like it looks like it's growing on a bigger scale. But when you kind of zoom out of this small little area of the world, to see that it's declining is insane. That's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I post a lot of softball content, obviously. And I often run into feedback, I'll call it feedback, from viewers that say they don't want to watch international because Team USA is so good that it's boring. And I'm just being transparent. Like, how do I have a conversation about that? And from a player, from somebody of your esteem, how do you have a conversation about why they should tune into international softball?
Yeah, well, I think that's something that I hadn't thought a whole lot about, because my brain is so grow the sport. You're not watching, like, of course you're watching to be entertained,
Right.
but it's
Right.
getting these other countries up up to scale so that eventually, like, it will be really great competitive softball, which it already is right now, honestly. Like
Yeah.
China, there was a lot of games that went ways that you wouldn't think it would go. Like, I think it was us in Chinese Taipei in the
Mm-hmm.
which I don't think people were expecting. Japan is always really top level, and I think people would really enjoy watching them and even the league out there. But like Canada too has always been really strong. I totally get it because USA is pretty dominant, but there's good games if you look for it. And I also think knowing that a lot of the national team players are also players in like AUSL or pro in the States, I swear, being a PO and watching them from the dugout get on a different level when it comes to international ball, like that's still pretty fun to watch.
Dude, I actually made content this week talking about that. Like, okay, if you're not going to tune in, which first of all, most of the people that are like, it's boring, are people that did not watch the games. They saw the 4-0 sweep and that's what they said. It's still great competition. You ever heard like the scoreboard didn't reflect the game? Like that is the whole theme of that. But then I went further and I was like, cool, if you don't like international softball, that's your opinion. Those women that are competing, that you're talking about dominating, they play against each other in the AUSL. Like, you want to see competitive softball, tune into the AUSL. Truly, like I had a front row seat this past season, and the skill level and the stat, like it's awesome to watch. I want to pivot here a little bit because I know that people would love to hear this from you. As a pitcher for Team USA, how do you prep for, wearing USA on your chest and stepping into that circle? What's the mental preparation for that?
Yeah, I think that there's a few different things I have to consider when playing USA specifically, it feels like on every team I'm on, especially this past year, being on a few different ones, but in a season, I get to kind of like grow into that identity of the team, to learn my teammates in the program and all the things that kind of have to come together for me to like find pride in it and to really be connected to it. Not just the program, like USA, that's putting on that jersey. There's literally no other feeling in the world. And there's so much pride that comes naturally with that. But because the teams are different every time, there's that like teammate team connection piece that I have to go into already like preparing myself to be open and vulnerable and willing to connect with people really fast,
Ooh,
because
yeah.
we're only a unit for like 10 days, and every time we come together it's for something that's incredibly important, something that's super super important. So I think from a mental space, already knowing, and I'm sure people can imagine like the pressure that is, because pressure comes with everything that's great. There's that side, which I think as an athlete, especially at this level, you get a little used to walking in those spaces where your heart's kind of pumping and you just are nervous. And I have my tools to deal with that. What's interesting for USA about me is more the heart stuff of just walking in, and you have to be like authentically yourself, right?
Mm.
Step into that, which is for someone like me, I think it takes me a little while on most teams to just be open, because I feel like I'm a little shy at first, but there's kind of like no time for that, if that makes sense.
Phew. No, yeah, makes total sense. Something that I talked about with Tori Vidalis on when she hopped on was the gel and the chemistry of a team. And she was talking about the talents. And, we were actually talking about Jadelyn, how she was a part of the team, but her name was Velcroed on, and what it's like to have to hop around from team to team. Now, Jadelyn didn't have to, but just, the mindset that comes with that and how real it is, the chemistry within a team, and how it takes a while for you to find that gel and those friendships. And it's so much more than just, learning each other on the field. It's learning your person next to you and your teammate, and, how they work and how they perform best and how you can be a better teammate. So to know that you have 10 days to drop the walls, which is already a little bit of a tough thing to do, I think, in sports, because you're coached to be, a competitor. You want to be tough. You want to be hard. You want to execute. And, to be told like, hey, being vulnerable is a good thing almost seems like the opposite of what you're coached to do when you're growing up. So for athletes in general, I feel like that's kind of like a little bit of a foreign thing, but that 10 days to really get to know who you're around and then go compete for a goal that you're all working towards together, that's tough. So for maybe younger girls that are doing showcases or exposure tournaments and they are hopping on teams, or, even younger Team USA, like what advice do you give to them to be able to kind of just flow with it and go right into it, open up?
Yeah, I would say that, and I think this is important to clarify when we talk about vulnerability. I think a lot of people maybe automatically think disclosure and having to get on a really deep level fast by like telling you,
Right.
like, it's not that. It's
You're right.
what it is when we're, like younger and trying to figure out relationships and stuff like that. But I think what we're talking about right now, especially for kids in those kind of situations, is you have to walk into it already accepting and agreeing that there is a mission that's bigger than yourself, and being
Mm-hmm.
bought into that, being vulnerable enough to give up, like your insecurities, your whatever's holding you back for the mission that's bigger than yourself right away. And I think that will naturally help people play better, because you always play better when you're playing for something bigger than yourself, when you don't have to be so introspective all the time
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
every single thing, because you're depending on a team to all be focused on the mission ahead and just moving towards that.
Where do you think the balance is? You said so you don't have to be introspective all the time, which 100% when you have the same goal and you're playing for somebody else, it's a little bit easier to go into that versus something I talked about with Jadlyn, is that internal, analyze where you messed up, get better, constantly be wanting to learn from your failures. But we talked about how sometimes that can shift to a little bit of being too hard on yourself. So where do you find a balance of, reflecting and introspecting on who you are as a player, where you can be better, but not getting caught up in that and remembering that, hey, I'm playing for other people too?
Mm-hmm. I do my best, and I'm not perfect by any means, but there's a piece of advice that I learned a few years ago, that guilt is the most useless emotion that we have, and that its main purpose is to make you pause, to make you think about what happened, understand where you went wrong, and then like you can shake it off you. It's not something that's you're supposed to hold on to for a really long time just to make yourself feel bad. And so I try to apply that logic to when I am looking at parts of my game that I don't like. And I do,
Mm-hmm.
is a part of that. I don't like messing up, especially as a pitcher. Like I always say, a pitcher can't really win the game from the mound. We can't score runs. We're there to defend. Like we're like the ultimate
Right.
defender. So when I give up something and I lose the game for my team, the guilt is crazy. But it's really just meant to show you what happened, not in like an emotional space, but logically. You know that there was something that went wrong. And then don't hold on to that feeling so long. It turns into more of a logical process. So the line for me really is, shoot, I messed up. Wait, first of all, though, I wait until I'm more in a logical space. I try
Ooh.
after the game. Okay, I'll just tell you my process. After the
Yes.
game, especially if it's like not my best game, but even if it is, I always journal what happened, what went well, what I didn't like about it, and then I just leave it alone. I'll immediately, just because I have
Let
a
it
very
go.
forgetful brain, so I'll write it down so I don't forget, but I put it away for later until I'm not emotional about my performance, and then I'll go back in and deep dive logically, like, okay, they hit all of like my curves or whatever, and then as I'm thinking about it, why did that happen, da 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 da. Oh, probably because that's what I threw 90% of the time. Like I didn't have
Yep.
any other pitch, or I didn't throw a changeup, and then I'm like, okay, let me try that the next game. But it's never, I draw the line. Like if I feel myself getting emotional about it, it's really easy to just close that journal and come back to it.
That's advice that even goes outside of softball. As something that, as I'm getting older, and I'm 25, I'll be 26 next week, but as a female in sports and trying to learn the media thing and stuff, you mess up a lot. And I've realized how important it is to take the emotion out of it. And because you can fix problems, you can get the feedback, you can find the solution, you can grow from it. When you're in a logical state, you can problem solve. In the emotional state, there's so many other factors in the, I should have done this, I can't believe this happened, whatever it is, that you can't logically come to a solution of how to be better. And to hear that you actually have a physical space where you write down what happened, and when you are in a logical state, go back to it, problem solve, and learn how to move forward, is something that I hope people listening take. Even if you don't play softball, if you play another sport, if you are listening to this and you're thinking about your career, whatever it is, that is life advice. That's not even just softball advice. And that's a skill that takes time to be able to do, right? Emotions hit quick, right? You lose a game, you're going to feel all kinds of things. And it's natural to want to fix it immediately and to erase it and move forward, but that's just not life. That's not how it works. How did you get to a point where that's your system, that's your routine, that's how you deal with it and you grow through it?
Yeah.
How did you get there?
I have always been a really big journaler, really big writer, ever since I was super small. I think because my mom knew I liked writing just in general when I was little. And then in order for us to communicate some really like hard things, and she's literally like my best friend, great relationship. And in part, I think it's because we would journal back and forth. So
Oh.
everything that was issues that were emotional for me and probably for her too, we would write it down in our journal. And when I could see it on paper, one, it was like a relief being able to get that out and to articulate it in a way where it's appropriate to communicate to another person. And then to have the feedback come back and go back and read. And it was just something that, I don't know, it was a flow for us and that I could easily take into other parts of my life, including softball. But then journaling was huge for me at UCLA. I even now, like, I journal in between games or innings and stuff like that, just like hitters, notes on like what they look like so I can remember. Again, I personally have a forgetful brain, so first time I do the lineup, what they look like, I'm not going to remember by the time it's third time lineup. So I have,
Right.
or even my plan before the game, I'll write what I aim to do, and then have my lineups and writing in game notes, and then I'll have post game, which is the process I explained. But I like to write so much, like my brain feels very chaotic sometimes, and I don't know. I'm sure for a lot of people, I even started getting those little memo pads because I would
Yeah.
during practice and I asking those questions that I had that were like unrelated. It was just a curiosity for me, completely
Mhm.
off the mission. So I got a little memo pad that I could just put my questions down so I can ask at the appropriate time. Or I could put little thoughts that I had about maybe I'm feeling something in my bullpen that's irritating me. Like I have a lot of bullpens where I get really frustrated, and just writing down why I'm frustrating, closing that book and saving that feeling for later and just trying to work through the bullpen, it really saved me a lot of distraction.
Right, because it's out of your head. Now it's somewhere you can go back to. You won't forget it. It's real time data
Yeah.
that you can logically go back to. That saves you from reacting versus responding. You can respond to a problem when you're in a logical state, when you have the data written down and you can assess it, versus reacting to that was a horrible bullpen. I don't even know where to start. I should have done this. I wasn't doing this. Like, you can go down a spiral and a rabbit hole, and as athletes, everybody has, but finding a way to create a system to avoid that and to, again, learn from where you can be better, from where you messed up. Again, I tell everybody that listens to this every week, please, like, come with a notepad and take some of this advice, because there's a reason that these women are where they are. They are learning still, but they've learned a lot and they're trying to pass it on to the next generation. So I'm going to start journaling as I'm going throughout my day for that same reason, because I get overwhelmed too. Also, Jadlyn was not kidding when she said that you were just curious about life. And you used the word curious, and we're laughing about it, but I want to know what that means to you. When I told you that she said that, what did that, like, how do you take that?
That made me laugh. It made me very happy because I've had such great conversations with Jadalyn, and she has the same kind of brain where it's just, we vibe so well. Um, for me, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword, and I can say this in my adulthood now that I'm learning more about myself, is that it's one thing to be curious, and then another thing to be so curious that it does things like kind of distract me. Like sometimes I feel like even in conversation, we'll be talking about one thing, but I have so many questions, like or from a philosophical point of view, though. Like, what do we really? It's just so.
From a philosophical, I love that.
it's it's
I
cool.
love it. To your point, I'm sure it can be distracting because your brain is like, curiosity is a good thing. That is how you learn, you grow as a person. Like, I think that's awesome that you, in normal conversations, are having philosophical questions in your head. Like, what's an example of that? Like, can you recall a time that you were just having a conversation and somehow it ended up literally way over here?
Oh yeah, I think I have plenty of examples that I can't like pinpoint one. One thing I'm thinking about is just recently I was talking with my mom, and I think her brain works differently. So it's hard sometimes to have those kinds of conversations because I think she's more like logic, like action, reaction, finish. And I
Right.
am such a whyer that it's like, okay, mom, but why? But why? But why? But why? that I have to like, we both agreed it's better if I just clarify when I'm asking why, because now my brain is over here thinking about like, why does in the world, like, why does this exist? Like, why is this the system of da da da? So it's very like principled conversation. And I think sometimes it's like when you go to watch YouTube and you start on one video, and then because you're like
It's a rabbit hole.
curious, you literally end up all the way in a different world. That's me, but just like in regular conversation. So that's why I started doing things like the memo pad, so I can just like focus, please, on one
Yeah.
time.
Just stay focused on one task at hand.
Yes.
How do you think that curiosity has played into your softball career, like in a good way? I know we talked about you writing things down and stuff, but how do you think that's helped you be a better pitcher?
I think it's helped me be a better pitcher because I'm always looking for different ways to do things. And I think that everyone like there's a way that people like to learn, and there's a way that things like the same lesson might click differently said a different way, or if you hear it a different way. So often I'm looking for different ways to kind of hear the same thing, I guess, until it clicks for me and I can apply it and I start seeing different results. But I think also just as a competitor, person, leader, it's great to have an open mind and to see different ways that people are doing things. I think the greatest thing I've learned is that everyone, or a lot of people that I've observed, have been able to find success in doing what they do best and just doubling down on that. So, and that's kind of that's the part about curiosity that's really awesome, that I get to see so many different styles of just like living. But what I've learned now is that those are like everyone else's. Now I'm more curious about myself and what I like and what I can double down on for myself. I think it's important. I think there's like a phase of life, and I don't know if it has to do with turning 25 and like the fully developed lobe. I really don't know.
The frontal lobe?
Yes. That it
Fully
feels
developed.
like it could be a part of it, because ever since I turned 25, I was just like, hold on, Meg. Learning is great. I'll never stop learning because that's fun for me. But I've never looked at myself and been like, what works for me specifically that I should keep doing to, like, what's it called? Exponentially grow my success and what I feel good in doing. Instead of, because I'm such a tinkerer, like I like to try things and then like try to do different things. What if I literally just stayed in one lane? Still be curious, still learn, but what if I just really focused? So that's what but I do think I am who I am today because I was willing to ask how, why, what do you do? I think that I would have stopped growing a really long time ago if I didn't do that.
The only way that you learn yourself fully is by being curious, by being open minded and trying different things or seeing a different perspective, because that allows you to kind of filter out, okay, I learned all of these things. This is what feels like me. This is where I find growth. And you continue on that path. But it's by committing to being curious and open-minded, not just stuck in, because there's another side of it of like, I know myself, I'm stuck in my ways, like this is how I'm going to do it. You might think that, but if you haven't tried anything else, do you know that? Do you actually know it? That's again, just dropping advice left and right. This is stuff that I'm going to take it. I don't play any sport anymore, but this is stuff that I'm not even close. It's not even crazy. Funny. I actually tried to hit off a tee. I'm in Michigan. It was like 8 degrees the other day. I thought that I could just go hit off the tee for fun. Didn't warm up. Don't ever do that. Always stretch. First swing off the tee, I have it on video. I'm pretty sure I heard a pop, rotator cuff, done. No. I was like, that's what I get. Lesson learned. Everyone take advice here. Warm up before you hit off a tee, even, especially if you haven't hit off a tee in like 7 years. Anyway.
And like the cold, right? And we're too old to be doing that. We're too old to not have the warm up.
what did I think? Again, I'm about to be 26. I'm like, I used to do this all the time. First off, I'm from the bottom of Louisiana. I have never smelled 8 degrees in my life. Walk outside with a dead bat from high school trying to hit off the tee with no warm up. I deserve that. That was, yeah, we're still recovering, but it's fine. Um, yeah, insane. I want to talk about your family a little bit. You mentioned your mom and how you guys went back and forth with journaling and stuff like that. But like, talk to me about your relationships with them and how they've played a role in getting you to where you are.
Yeah, man, I've got to be like the luckiest person on earth because I have the best family. Like, we've always been just so close growing up. And I think that's really because my parents did such a great job. I
Mm,
also grew up, so Polynesian household, I'm Samoan and Hawaiian and a few different things, but I grew up in between like my grandma's house and my house just because both my parents
uh-huh.
were working. So stayed at my grandma's house a lot, which is a like a generational home. They've had it when my grandparents moved to the States. That was their house, and that's just always been in our family. But I grew up around all of my aunties and uncles. I grew up with a huge community feel, which I think is definitely how I feel on my teams. It was very important for me to be a good teammate and to make sure that everyone was cool because in my family, you make sure that everyone's cool. If you're going to go out to eat, like you're asking if someone else wants to eat too. And that's kind of
Oh,
that I bring onto my teams as well. Um, but I grew up with an older brother and a younger brother, a sister she's my cousin, but she's really my sister. So again, like it's just very easy, I think, for me to feel like almost family with people,
yeah.
especially going through hard stuff together, going through a season together. Um, and then I think it's important in my family that we're all always growing. So my older brother, he played volleyball at USC and he's now a fireman. Like he gets to be a firefighter helping people, which is I'm just so proud of
Wow.
the coolest thing. And then my younger brother right now, he's playing football at Notre Dame and he's a freshman, I think. Yeah, freshman. So he's going through all the things that you go through as a freshman. And just seeing, like how I was saying earlier, seeing my family grow so much has probably been the thing I'm most proud of. Seeing both of my parents work so hard, sacrifice so much with love in their hearts. Like,
Mm.
it really, really feel like the luckiest person on earth for my family.
That's awesome. And I've talked to a couple athletes that have athletic siblings, and like that goes back to the parents. That first off, I'm not a parent, but I know that it is the hardest job in the world. Okay. You can't do it perfectly and you mess up a lot. But as a testament of what you teach your kids, like, I mean, your brother's at Notre Dame, your other brother's now a firefighter after playing college volleyball, and you're at the top level of softball. Like, your parents did something right. And to hear you reflect back and be grateful for that and talk about how close your family is, like, your support system and the people around you are so important. And it's so vital that you have, whether it's blood family or inherited family, whatever it is, that the people around you are pushing you to be better, that they are, checking you when you're off track, that they see the best in you and are pushing you that way. Because when you're around people who are not doing that for you, you can see it. And as an athlete, that translates to your performance on the field. And I will die on that hill. Like, the people in your circle are the most important part of your success. I truly, truly believe that, because it's going to be them that are telling you, hey, you need to go do this because you said you were going to do it and it's going to make you better, or showing up to the games when you really don't want to go, whatever it is. So one of my favorite things is to hear athletes at the highest level of their sport talk about their family. So that's really cool to hear that your parents were just completely in and your siblings are succeeding in their fields too.
Thank you.
Um,
I want to say
I've
also, oh, if I could just
Go.
add kind of like what you were saying about not just blood family, but inherited family and the idea
Mm-hmm.
are, I'm sure you've heard like the average of the 5 people we hang out with the most or something like that. It's about your environment. And I don't know so much about circumstances because, again, there's like so many people that are successful with who were born into different circumstances, but it is about who you choose to hang out with.
Yep.
And I something that I've noticed too, especially like when I think of even just Tori or Jax that we were talking about. I think we've all come from different circumstances, but what's cool is that the people in our life didn't just push us to do what we do, but who also challenged us in how we do it. When I
Ooh.
do players alone, and there's so many I could think of, how they play the game, how they show up as a teammate, you can tell that there was love in their life, or that they're creating it for themselves now, the way that we all are as a team and connected as a team, which again goes back into Tori's point too about the gel of the team and all that stuff.
Right. I love that, how you choose. And it's important that the people around you are challenging you too. It's not just, oh yeah, Megan, that's great. That's great, Meg, whatever. It's, hey, you might be able to do this better, or why are you doing that? Tell me your intention behind that. And I want to say this, it's not just the people around you, it's what you consume. So the books you read, the podcasts you listen to, the TV shows or whatever you watch, and there's so many things that you subconsciously pick up on. So for the people out there that, you know what, your circumstance might be that you don't have a great support system, because the reality is not everybody does. You do get to choose what you listen to and what information you consume. And that is very important, which actually leads me to my next question. I know you're a big music fan. I want to understand what your relationship is with music. Sorry, I'm stumbling. What your relationship is with music.
Yeah. Oh my. Okay. So my thought process, because I've been asked this before, but what I'm realizing now is I think it's because I grew up in such a dynamic household, plural, that I was around so many different kinds of music from so many different generations.
Oh, yeah.
Exposed to a lot of different stuff. And I also think that my parents let me listen to basically whatever I wanted to listen to. They allowed me that sort of like creative curiosity, I guess.
Yeah.
I was blasting some like out of pocket stuff.
We all were. Yeah.
I think that if they were super like overly restrictive on that, I would like some of the stuff right. They let, even to this day, I'm like, God, why did you let me listen to that?
Yes. A song will come on. I'm like, why was this my third grade alarm clock? There's no way that Bugatti by Ace Hood should have been blasting in my room when I was in third grade. What? Yeah. Hey, hindsight 2020.
But I think something super cool about that, and that's sort of just grown my love for music, different genres. I'm not afraid to have weird stuff on my playlist. Like, what would I consider weird is, I think my Spotify Wrapped was like, didn't even share it because I'm like, oh, they're not ready for this. Like, it was like a humming song that I found that I really liked, that just put me in the right state, I think. So I mean, I definitely use music as a tool now, especially when it comes to softball, of knowing where I guess my nervous system needs to be, what I need to feel like coming into a game, what I need to feel like kind of like cooling off the game, and using music to do that. Using music when I feel really anxious and I'm overthinking or need stillness in my life, like putting on that humming playlist or whatever it needs to be. I think for a second, when was this? Maybe in January, I dabbled in like Russian rap or something like that. Literally just out there. But for a second, I thought it was really cool. So that's what, and then I just always kind of do that. And now I find that my Spotify raps are like, no one I don't think would get it. Please.
Imagine just putting that on your Instagram story. By the way, I'm a huge fan of Spotify Wraps. I love them. Whenever everybody posts that, I literally will look at it and I'll go listen to the song, because I'm trying to understand where that person was. Like, were you going through a breakup? Were you having the best year of your life? Like, what was happening? I need to know. I am a huge fan of Spotify Wraps. So if you would share yours with me, I would be very happy. Humming and Russian rap, come on. And there's that curiosity again. Dude, it's fun. What? We're so stuck in the same genres of music. Like, do
Yeah.
something different, you know?
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about how, like, that comes into play with, like, your pregame mindset and how you prepare for a game. Aside from music, like, what does your routine look like on a game day? And I know, like, young pitchers are going to be like, I need to know what this is. I'm going to try to do it. So, like, just I guess share what your system is to get ready for a game.
Yeah, so I think it looks different depending on the team I'm on. Like in AU, it's not as structured, just the team
Yeah.
atmosphere. Like I think we get a little bit more freedom with our day before going into a game. In Japan, it looks very different because it feels like from the time I wake up, it's like boom, boom, boom. You got to be somewhere, you got to go.
Yeah.
I'll say in AU, because those are usually night games, I like that pregame routine because it feels a lot more of like what I want to do. You up in a pretty good mood, and I'll get like some activity in is always a good thing, I think. So even if it's just a little walk, listening to my music, but again, timing my music of when I want to listen to it. If I'm listening to my like pregame, if it's house that day, like super duper housey music, straight right when I get out of bed, I'm gonna lose like all of the oomph I had before I even get to
Yeah.
so it's always like reggae or instrumental, something like that. Gospel music I like too when I wake up, and then go about my day. Usually, like if I need food, I'll get food, but being mindful that you don't want to feel heavy. You have to just be mindful of what you want to feel like when you field, and then plan your day accordingly. Which is like it's pretty simple, but it's taken me a while to figure out exactly that process for myself, and it's changing often. The more that I change, the more that process kind of changes.
Yeah.
But I know once I get to the field, I know that I'm gonna want to be very focused. I know I'm gonna want to be open with my teammates, but I don't like being loose. Like when people talk about being
Yep.
and smiley and jokey, I don't really like that kind of stuff because my brain is like highly distractible. I will get off if we start cracking.
I need to be focused right now. No jokes. Keep it over there.
I gotta ask
Dude.
Jack the picture. Jax took a picture of us because I think she is more of like the have fun, and that's how she plays. And she the funniest picture of me just like so locked in, and Jax that in the.
I'm gonna ask her for it. I'm gonna put it in here.
But
that's what we were talking about earlier of like learning yourself, like being curious, like that works for her. She's loose, she's fun, like that's how she is her best self. You know that your routine and the mindset that changes throughout the day to cue your body and your brain to be like, okay, time to lock in, I need to go execute. Like that's what works for you. And that's why it's important to be curious about these things, because that's how you learn how to show up as your best self. So it's funny that we're sitting here like talking about you being locked in and she's over here thumbs up like that's great. That's a perfect depiction of what we're talking about.
Yes, and I think what's especially cool about that is just once you do learn yourself, once you know, and this is something I've struggled with probably in the years prior, is that I knew that I need to be locked in, but it would irritate the hell out of me if like other people didn't know that about me. Or, it would just make me. But what I've learned, and which is again another thing I love about that picture, is just because once you learn yourself and you know yourself does not give you the right to be a butthead and be mean to your teammates, because everyone has their own process and everyone is in their own lane together. And I think I did a good job of that. Jax did a good job of that, obviously. And so we were both able to maintain what we needed.
Right.
Same time. Like it's just,
yes.
It's honestly so funny being on a team. Like it's so, what an experience just in that one like shot alone.
I'm immediately when we get off here, I'm texting her to get that picture. It's going on Instagram this week. That I think that's the important of perspective of like it's not just learning yourself, it's also learning yourself and learning how to coexist with people who do not have the same perspective or process that you do and not expecting them to be the same as you. That's taking it to the next level of, you know, this works for her, this works for me, we can coexist. But, and sometimes it takes communication like, hey, dude, I'm locked right now. Love you. We'll shoot the shit after the game, but I need to do my thing. And that's a respect that you build with teammates and friends and partners throughout your life of just, I know me, I'm going to communicate what works for me, and then we're going to go about our business. So I can't wait to see this picture. I've already kept you for so long, but I do want to ask you about playing internationally and like going into a new culture. Like, I'm sure that was something that was super exciting for you, like just knowing that you're very curious, but like adapting to a new culture and really diving into somewhere that might be completely different from where you came from. What was that like?
I appreciated it, one, because I am curious, but two, because everywhere that I traveled was for softball. So I knew that at the end of the day, we're going to have the game in common. And if, like if I don't end up liking whatever place I'm in, I'll feel super solid because the game is always there. And I know that on that level, we're going to understand and we're going to, enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
I do think though that being in Japan specifically has like altered my brain chemistry in ways that is really, really cool. And also in ways where I like when I come back to America, I'm like, oh, I need to like be American. Like,
Switch.
yeah,
It's very different.
it's very different, but it is cool learning about that and learning different perspectives. Most of all, I think has been just like brain chemistry feels so different because of it. But yeah, just seeing how different people live in the world has been really cool and something that I think I'm going to keep with me forever. I really do think everyone should be exposed if they can to different cultures, as many different people, as many different mindsets as they can. One, because of curiosity, but it does open up your perspective. And I also think it encourages like critical thinking, which feels very important at this time of our lives as a society.
Yes. Learn how to think for yourself, people.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Love that. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. Oh, no, I'm not. One more. Tori told me to ask you about your Kindle. I don't know what that means, but I need to know about the Kindle.
Guys, everybody needs a Kindle.
Oh.
Everybody, they sponsored, but they can sponsor if they want.
I'm going to send them this clip. We'll tag them and hopefully they hit your email.
Yeah, it's so great. Oh wait, unless she's talking about my story when, dude, so all of my books, I have so many books on Kindle, my fun books, my like non-fun books where I'm just trying to learn stuff. I forget where we were, but I was with Tori and all of it deleted. Okay, but this is still
Oh
like
no.
bad for Kindle because everybody, I got every single book back, every single highlight, every note.
Wait, how did it delete?
I don't know. I turned it on one day, and which is because that's another part of my pregame routine that I'll have my book, so like chill out, just relax, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? I have not one sentence on here that I can even like read. So
Oh
anyway,
no.
it must have restarted or something. Everything went bye-bye, and then I was able to go on Amazon and re-download it back. It was just
Girl, did you spiral for a second?
1000%. Oh, I was in orbit so fast. Like
Yeah.
I was
Oh, especially if that's a part of your pregame routine. Oh my God, that would have sent me into, yeah. No way.
Yeah.
I knew there was a story whenever Tori was like, ask her about her Kindle. I was like, okay, maybe she likes to read.
love to read, but that was tough. I'm not going to lie. Like that is, and I usually don't remember stuff like that, but I remember like my heart dropped. So,
well, you got it all back. So again, an ad for Kindle, they problem solved. There was no issue, just a little scare.
Exactly. So everybody needs to get one. Everybody needs to download books. Kindle Unlimited, fantastic. There's also like a book club in AUSL So that's been pretty cool. Like people,
Stop. Y'all have a book club?
we did, yeah. There was a book club like Group B for a while. I'm not sure if they still did it last year, but a lot of people read. So we're constantly just sharing books back and forth.
I love this so much. I speak so highly of the AUSL because I cover it all the time, but I don't know. True. And please, if you're out there and you know that I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But I don't know of another league that has a group me for a book club. Y'all are all so close. And I know part of that is because you weren't city based and y'all were all in the dome and like
Mm-hmm.
you're all around each other traveling together. But like for the whole league to have a group me for a book club is so wholesome. And I
Yeah.
love it so much. Oh my God. Your favorite athletes are reading books. You should be reading books. You heard it here. Wow. That is probably my favorite piece of knowledge I learned. Not, it's one of my favorite pieces. That's
Yeah.
so cute. I
Yeah.
love that so much.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I've literally I could talk to you for a very long time because now my brain is going into curiosity mode and I want to ask why. But I won't do that to you. So I appreciate you so much for hopping on here, Meg. Like, this was awesome. I was very excited. I know it took a little minute to get the scheduling down, but I think this is going to impact a lot of people. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do is impact the younger generation, grow the game. And I think you have a huge hand in that. So I really appreciate you hopping on today.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you asking me on, and I'm so excited to see what comes from it and for all the people, to watch it and
Yeah.
the impact hopefully get better.
Yeah. One more thing. If you had to drop one piece of advice for a little girl who might come across this episode, what do you hope she takes from it?
Well, I don't know if we really covered it, but I would just say bet on yourself. Bet on yourself every time to not just do stuff and go through life, but to overcome the hardest challenges. If you just bet on yourself every time, I promise. I think that's why a lot of us are where we are now in the pro league, is because we just took a chance on ourselves, and that no matter who you have around you, if you have a lot of great support or maybe not, as long as you got yourself, and for me it's myself and my God, I know I'm good.
Mic drop. That's it. Meg Faraimo, you are a gem. That was wonderful.